Welcome. This is the introductory lecture to the 2022 edition of IKN780. Welcome to the course, as I said, and I hope that you find the experience of the course totally enriching from an intellectual and perhaps even a material perspective. Whether we like it or not, all of us are somehow directly or indirectly linked to the processes of expenditure and investment. The cash economy, as we come to know it. Whether you are saving for retirement or paying for a hire purchase agreement or negotiating the terms of your mortgage with the bank, these transactions are ultimately all cash flow streams and can be analyzed using the principles which you'll be learning in this course. So let's get started. I hope the course will broaden your understanding of the financial world and bring engineering economics into your professional and your personal lives. It's not my choice to be teaching online again. This is the last year that I will be presenting IKN 780, or indeed any course at the University of Pretoria. I'm retiring in September, and next year this course will be presented by my colleague, Dr. George Tophill. I had hoped that in 2022, at least, I would get the opportunity to once again stand in front of you, in front of the class, and teach. But it was not to be. You need to listen to this introductory lecture and all the other lectures, which I recorded last year for 2021. Each lecture is about 20 minutes long, and you can listen to them at your own pace over the next few weeks. The synchronous session, these are the online events that we all attend simultaneously, will be mainly tutorials in which I will demonstrate approaches to the solution of particular problems. All of the lectures, and there are 7 in total, will use the pre-prepared slides which are available on ClickUp. Please download these and download all these slide packs and then make notes as I go through the lectures about questions for which you may need answers. As I mentioned in my email, I'm available every Friday afternoon for consultation, and you are welcome to make an appointment, either in groups or individually, in order to discuss any issues which are troubling you. Let me now start with the introductory slides, and I'm going to share my screen. So here we go, share. There, I think we have it. Introduction and Administration, Engineering Economics, IKN 780. So first of all, just some administrative issues. ClickUp IKN 780, it's got everything that you need on that. It's the source of all information. It has the study guide, the slides for the lectures, articles, details on tests, details on assignments. Please familiarize yourself with ClickUp IKN 780. If you have a good understanding of the structure of the site, you won't struggle to find the material that you will need. The second thing is for additional information, there's the course text, which is Park 2016, and it's the book on contemporary engineering economics, which is available also as an ebook. And so you have an option as to whether you want to use the ebook or buy a hard copy. For the course, you will definitely need a tablet or a laptop and a stable internet connection and sufficient power to see you through the lectures, or an ESCOM outage, or whatever misfortune you may encounter while you are needing to use your tablet or laptop. This is the course structure. So as in terms of pre-work, I want you to listen to the lectures for themes 1, 2, and 3, covering fundamentals of engineering techno-economics, money-time relationships, present value, future value, economic equivalence, interest rates, and inflation. And then in the first synchronous session, we will cover tutorials 1 and 2, and 1 will be the introduction. It's an introductory exercise on the South African Reserve Bank and the Monetary Policy Committee, which I think you will find very interesting and certainly very relevant to the times in which we live. And then I'll go through examples 1 to 3 and class examples 4 to 6, which are all on the spreadsheet labeled class examples and downloadable from the ClickUp site. Then you must, I'll give you some time, and you must listen to lecture 3 on day 2 from 8 until 10, and then similarly lecture 4 from 1 until 2 on investment financing. On this structure I've shown you when we're going to do pre-course tutorial, cover the pre-course tutorial and then tutorial 3. Just to remind you, pre-course tutorial is something you need to complete before lectures begin or before the synchronous sessions begin. The tutorials on the 30th of March. Very, very important that you complete this and that you are familiar with those calculations. It's going to help you enormously in coming to terms with some of the much more difficult concepts that you will be exposed to during the remainder of the tutorials and lectures. And then on the 3rd of April at the beginning, we have a class test covering themes 1 to 3. And that's why those themes are part of the pre-work, just to give you some time to consolidate the learning material in those 3 themes. It's an online class test, as these lectures are, and you will be given a certain amount of time. I'll give you some information, more information in a second. And then the rest of day 3, we'll do class examples, we'll cover depreciation, taxation, discounted cash flows, net present value, and discounted cash flows, internal rates of return. And then finally, at the end, we will be doing a techno-economic assessment and a sensitivity analysis. Okay, so as I said, consultations from Monday to Friday by appointment. If you can't meet me on a Friday afternoon, when I say meet, that would be a virtual meeting. I'll confirm the time and the platform. As I said, I prefer to use Zoom as stated here because it allows you the facility to record. Unfortunately, Google Meets, which is what the university uses, doesn't. Otherwise, we can use Collaborate, but I think Collaborate has an issue because of the amount of memory or storage that the recordings take. And there's always pressure on me as the lecturer and presenter to delete the recordings. So Zoom is a good platform, but we could use Teams or anything else. Books in the library, there are lots of books in the library in case you are further interested on engineering economics. This study of engineering economics is at least 60, 70 years old. Books have been published on engineering economics in covering very similar material to what we are covering since the 1950s, so 70 years old. And the only difference is that now we have spreadsheets and a lot of the calculations can be done quicker and easier than previously using calculation tables or slide rules or logbooks, a whole range of techniques. All right, so now I'm just going to summarize for you what we are going to do in terms of the assignments. So pre-course tutorial, which needs to be completed before the first synchronous session on the 30th of March. Very, very important. And you will need to score at least 60% for that assignment in order to do the class test. You have an unlimited number of submissions, so it would be no problem to continue doing that assignment, the pre-course tutorial, until you get the requisite mark. Then the class test, 30% of the semester mark, which is on the morning of the 3rd day of the synchronous sessions. It takes place online. There will be 1 hour, 10 questions, all randomized from a pool of questions and no backtracking. You will be allowed to, I think 3 submissions are allowed. You shouldn't really need that, but sometimes students lose connection and then they have to start again. It's just the way the online system is set up. And so that's why you allowed multiple attempts. But if you work quickly, you could do or have all 3 attempts, and that takes the best mark. The group assignment, 70% of the semester mark. The details are on ClickUp. Personally, I think it's a very fascinating assignment, very, very important for your learning process. And please, there are no free riders in the group assignment. You will be asked to do a CATME evaluation, and everyone will need to attest that the participants contributed equally to the group assignment. I have in the past had complaints about students who have not contributed fairly, and their marks are penalized as a consequence. So please don't ask me to do that. I do it very reluctantly because I honestly trust that you will take this seriously and there will be equal contributions. But in cases where there are complaints, marks will be adjusted. Okay, and then finally the exam, 60% of the final mark, and that exam will be online. You'll be given the further details at the end of our synchronous session. Syllabus for the class test, themes 1, 2, and 3, and that covers the Excel basics, all the financial formula, FV, NPV, PV, IRR, PMT, etc. You'll need to use GoalSeek, and you'll be required perhaps to understand the graph function. But it's very unlikely because the graph function would require a sort of a hard copy submission, and you can't do that with an online test where you have to enter in the values. It'll cover cash flows, interest rates, annual equivalent calculations, and inflation. So that's the class test. Repeat students, just a little bit of admin. You must do all the assignments, the test, and the exam unless you've achieved greater than 70% for any of the above, in which case you can be granted an exemption, but this can only be done in writing. So you must send me an email request for exemption. I will then reply confirming that exemption has been granted once I've checked that you got greater than 70%. And that will then be marked on ClickUp as your mark from previous years. So just let me say that again, exemption can be granted where you have received or where you have earned more than 70% on the assignment, the test, not the exam, obviously. You have to do the exam because you will have passed the whole course if you'd got more than 70% for the exam. Okay, and then times, the schedule is in the study guide, and the feedback forms. At the end of the synchronous sessions, there will be an opportunity to give feedback on this course and on its presentation. So here's the deadlines once again: submission of the pre-course tutorial before 12 o'clock midday on the 30th of March. The class test is 1st of April at 8 o'clock until 9. The submission of the group assignment on the 9th of May before midnight, basically, and then the examination at the 10th of June. It's the 10th of June at 9 o'clock. No extension to assignments. Please don't ask for that. It's impossible, basically, to grant extensions to the assignments. In the case of the class test, not applicable. It's really only the group assignment. And if I get such a request, you have to understand that I need to consult with the whole class to do this, and it's a complicated exercise. So I'm not wanting to encourage anyone to submit a request for an extension. You must get 40% for your semester mark, and you must get 40% for a sub-minimum of 40% for the exam. And you need to pass, in other words, get more than 50% for the whole course. The examination is open book, but it's individual work, obviously. There are no supplementary examinations. And the tutorials, generally I'll follow the structure of group work, 20 to 30 minutes, and then 45 minutes of class discussion. But that's quite flexible, and we will see how it goes. The structure of the course: theme 1 is fundamentals of Techno-Economics. Theme 2 is money-time relationships, present value, future value, and equivalence, economic equivalence. Theme 3 is interest rates and inflation. So that little section there then is the material for the class test. And then theme 4, investment financing. Theme 5 is balance sheets and company statements, essentially, income statements. Theme 6 is taxation, depreciation, discounted cash flows, net present value, and internal rates of return. And then finally, theme 7 is the final Techno-Economic analysis and a description of sensitivity analysis. And there it just indicates in which chapters of your textbook you can find further material. Chapters 1 for fundamentals, 3 for money-time relationships, etc. So you will have that in your slide pack. And then just finally, I've in the past received a little bit of resistance from students about the fact that this course is so dependent on Excel. That's very completely intentional, I have to tell you. It's designed to move away from formula-based learning to understanding a problem and then structuring a solution to that, and then using your available tools. So the idea is not to get you to look up in calculation tables the value for, let's say, a particular set of interest rates and present values and time of investment. The idea is to get you to be able to come to a solution to a particular problem. So it's structuring the way in which you solve that. So it's problem solving rather than knowledge retrieval and routine work. Shift toward interdisciplinary and collaborative learning, hence the group assignment. And then a student-centered and adaptive learning. Well, in some ways, we don't have at this point a lot of flexibility around that. It has to be student-centered as a consequence of the COVID-19 regulations and restrictions. And adaptive learning, well, that's how modern learning takes place. So hopefully you will be able to understand the approach, and you'll be able to make the best of the different learning experiences. So learning online, learning in consultation with your group, learning in consultation with me, tutorial-based learning, and then retrieving additional information from the internet. So universities think differently now about what students need. And so the whole focus is on collaboration, connectivity, and capacity to integrate knowledge rather than capacity to regurgitate knowledge, and very much an interdisciplinary ethos where you are integrating training from diverse fields and introducing into your thinking elements of things like social justice and environmental justice and energy justice, in addition to just being able to build the cash flows and do a discounted net present value. So I'm going to stop sharing at this point and just come back to you. Yeah, I think it's going to be a very absorbing course for you, and I certainly look forward to the synchronous sessions. As I said, I'm very sorry these are not going to be face-to-face. And I do hope that I will be able to engage with you on a Friday afternoon at some point in the class. I don't think we are as big a class as we have been in previous years, but I still haven't seen the final numbers. So no matter whatever the size is of the class, there's always an opportunity for you to interact with me, either in small groups or individually. Particularly in matters which you don't understand, so fundamental matters of understanding. Good luck for the rest of the lectures, and as I said, I really look forward to the start of the synchronous sessions and meeting you all online.